The notification from the bank hit Dean like a freight train on a cold Chicago morning. Your account has been frozen pending investigation into fraudulent activity reported by a third party. It read in stark black letters. He stared at the screen, coffee mug trembling in his hand, while Joel leaned over his shoulder, brow furrowed in confusion. "What the hell? We didn't do anything wrong," Dean muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Joel placed a steady hand on his boyfriend's back, feeling the tension ripple through Dean's shoulders. They had been together for 3 years, sharing this cozy apartment in Lincoln Park, building a life that felt solid until this moment shattered the illusion. Dean worked as a graphic designer for a small firm downtown, and Joel taught history at a local community college. Their days were filled with quiet routines, morning runs along the lake, weekend brunches, and late-night talks about the future. But Dean's family back in rural Indiana had never fully accepted their relationship. When his father discovered the truth during an unexpected visit 6 months ago, the silence that followed had been deafening. Now Dean logged into the bank app again, hoping it was a glitch, but the balance read zero access. Bills were due, rent was coming, and his credit cards were maxed from a recent move. "Call them," Joel urged gently, already pulling out his phone to search for customer service. The operator confirmed it. A complaint filed under Dean's name alleging identity theft and unauthorized transfers. No details, just enough to trigger an automatic freeze. Dean hung up, face pale. "This feels personal." Joel didn't push, but inside he wondered if Dean's father, a strict man who ran a small auto shop and quoted Bible verses at family dinners, had something to do with it. They spent the afternoon at the bank branch, waiting in plastic chairs under fluorescent lights. The manager was sympathetic but firm. Federal regulations tied their hands until the complaint was investigated. Dean's hands shook as he signed forms, explaining over and over that he had no enemies, no suspicious activity. Joel sat beside him, offering silent strength, but the knot in his stomach tightened. Back home, Dean paced the living room while Joel cooked pasta, the aroma of garlic failing to ease the tension. "If this drags on, I can't pay my half of rent. My firm might notice if payroll hits issues." Joel turned from the stove, his green eyes steady. "We'll figure it out. I've got savings. You're not alone in this." But Dean's mind raced to darker places. Memories of his father's cold stare when he came out at 25. The way his mother had cried but said nothing. Had the old man crossed a line? That night they lay in bed, Dean's head on Joel's chest, listening to the steady heartbeat. "I never thought love could cost this much," Dean whispered. Joel kissed the top of his head. "It's not love costing us. It's fear." The next morning brought more bad news. An email from Dean's boss asking about financial irregularities flagged in a background check for a promotion. Dean felt the walls closing in. Joel suggested they consult a lawyer friend from the college, someone who specialized in consumer rights. As they walked to the appointment, snow flurries swirling around them, Dean gripped Joel's hand tighter than usual. The city felt colder, the skyscrapers less welcoming. In the lawyer's office, the truth started to unravel. The complaint had come from an IP address traced to Indiana. Dean's face went white. "My dad." Joel squeezed his hand, but inside Dean's chest a storm brewed, betrayal mixing with the fear that his family might never accept who he really was. The lawyer outlined next steps. File a dispute, gather evidence, possibly sue for damages. Dean nodded, but his mind was elsewhere, replaying childhood memories of Sunday services and the unspoken rule that boys didn't love boys. Joel watched him, knowing this freeze was more than money. It was a test of everything they had built. By evening, Dean sat at the kitchen table drafting a letter to his father, words pouring out in anger and hurt. Joel read it over, suggesting softer phrasing, but Dean shook his head. "He needs to know what he's done." They sent it certified mail, then collapsed on the couch, exhaustion settling like a blanket. Joel pulled Dean close, whispering promises of tomorrow. Little did they know the fight had only just begun. and the coming weeks would force them both to confront secrets they had buried deep. Weeks blurred into a haze of paperwork and sleepless nights. Dean's account remained locked, forcing Joel to cover every expense from his modest teacher's salary. Groceries became careful calculations. Date nights turned into home-cooked meals with whatever was on sale. Joel never complained, but Dean saw the strain in his boyfriend's eyes during late-night grading sessions. "You shouldn't have to carry this," Dean said one evening, voice thick with guilt. Joel set down his red pen and smiled faintly. "That's what partners do. Remember when I lost my job last year? You were there." But this felt different, deeper, rooted in Dean's past. The lawyer called with updates. The complaint was indeed from Dean's father, claiming Dean had stolen money from the family business years ago. A blatant lie, since Dean had never touched the books. "We can file a counterclaim for defamation and wrongful freeze," the lawyer explained over speakerphone. Dean stared out the window at the gray lake, feeling exposed. Joel rubbed his back, but inside Dean wrestled with old wounds. Coming out to his family had been a quiet disaster. His mother's tears, his brother's awkward silence, his father's icy, "We'll pray for you." Now this public accusation dragged their private life into the light. At work, Dean's boss pulled him aside, concerned about the credit check. "It's temporary," Dean lied, but the doubt lingered. Joel suggested they reach out to friends for support. Their best friend Marcus, a fellow teacher and fellow gay man who had faced his own family battles, offered his couch if needed and even loaned a small sum. "You two are family to me," Marcus said over coffee, his warm smile easing some tension. Dean appreciated it, but pride stung. He started taking extra freelance gigs, working until midnight on logos and websites, eyes burning. Joel worried, urging rest, but Dean pushed harder, determined not to be a burden. One weekend they drove to Indiana for a tense family dinner, hoping confrontation would help. Dean's mother greeted them with forced cheer, but his father barely looked up from the television. "Heard about your bank troubles," the older man grunted over pot roast. Dean's blood boiled. "You did this." The room went silent. His father denied nothing, eyes hard. "You chose that life. Actions have consequences." Joel stepped in calmly, voice steady. "Mr. Thompson, this isn't about choice. It's about hurting your son." The argument escalated, accusations flying about sin and shame. Dean's brother sided with their dad, muttering about the lifestyle ruining the family name. They left early, Dean silent the whole drive back to Chicago. That night tears came, raw and unexpected. Joel held him through it, listening as Dean unpacked years of hiding. High school crushes buried, college relationships kept secret, the fear that love meant losing family. Joel shared his own story, how his parents in California had embraced him immediately, contrasting sharply with Dean's pain. "You don't have to choose between us," Joel whispered. But Dean wasn't sure. The next day brought court papers, a hearing date for the dispute. Preparation consumed them, gathering bank statements, witness letters from Joel and Marcus attesting to Dean's character. Dean's identity felt fractured. Was he the son his father wanted or the man Joel loved? Joel noticed the distance growing, small things like Dean pulling away during hugs. One evening Joel confronted it gently over dinner. "Talk to me. This isn't just money." Dean set down his fork, eyes glistening. "I feel like I'm drowning. If I fight him, I lose what's left of my family. If I don't, I lose myself." Joel reached across the table. "Then we fight together. For you. For us." The words hung heavy, a promise amid uncertainty. As the hearing approached, Dean started therapy, recommended by Joel's college counselor. Sessions peeled back layers, shame from childhood sermons, the weight of being the different son. Joel attended one, holding space while Dean spoke of betrayal. Slowly, strength returned. They practiced testimony, Joel playing the lawyer, turning their living room into a mock courtroom. Laughter broke through the tension, reminding them why they fought. Marcus hosted a small dinner party, friends toasting to justice and love. Dean felt seen, not pitted. Yet the night before the hearing, doubt crept back. Dean lay awake, staring at the ceiling, Joel's breathing steady beside him. "What if we lose?" he whispered to the dark. Joel stirred, pulling him close. "Then we rebuild. Stronger." Morning light brought resolve. They dressed in suits, Joel adjusting Dean's tie with care. "You've got this." At the courthouse steps, Dean paused, heart racing. This wasn't just about money anymore, it was about claiming his life. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and nervous sweat. Dean sat at the plaintiff's table, Joel beside him for moral support, though only parties could speak. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s with sharp eyes, called the case. Dean's father appeared via video from Indiana, flanked by his own lawyer, face stony. The false complaint was laid bare. Emails, IP logs, even a recorded call where the older man admitted to protecting the family. Dean's voice cracked as he testified, recounting the financial nightmare. Missed rent payments covered by Joel, freelance burnout, the promotion lost at work. This wasn't fraud. It was revenge for who I love. The room shifted, whispers rippled. Joel watched proudly, his own heart swelling at Dean's courage. Cross-examination turned ugly. The defense painted Dean as reckless, implying the relationship itself was unstable. Joel bit his tongue, fists clenched under the table. When it was his turn to speak as a character witness, he kept it factual yet heartfelt. "Dean is the most responsible man I know. This freeze has tested us, but it's shown how strong our bond is." The judge listened intently. Dean's father spoke last, voice gruff. "I did what any father would. Boys like him need correction." Gasps echoed. The judge adjourned for deliberation, leaving Dean drained. Outside in the hallway, Joel pulled him into a quiet alcove. "You were incredible. No matter what, I'm proud." Dean leaned into the embrace, tears threatening. "He called me boys like him, like I'm broken." Joel cupped his face. "You're not. You're mine, and you're whole." They grabbed coffee from the cafeteria, replaying moments, finding small victories in Dean's steady voice on the stand. Marcus texted support from work. Hours later, the judge returned. "The complaint lacks merit and appears motivated by personal bias. The bank freeze is lifted immediately. Furthermore, the plaintiff is awarded compensatory damages of $25,000 for financial hardship and emotional distress." Dean's knees nearly buckled. Joel grinned wide, hugging him right there. But the victory tasted bittersweet. His father's face on screen showed no remorse, only cold resignation. Outside, snow had stopped, sun breaking through clouds. They walked hand in hand down the courthouse steps, Dean breathing freer. "It's over." Joel laughed softly. "Not quite. The money helps, but we still have healing to do." That evening they celebrated quietly. Steak dinner, a bottle of wine saved for special occasions. Dean transferred the first payment from his now unfrozen account to Joel, insisting on splitting everything. Joel refused half. "Keep it. Invest in us." Conversation turned deeper. Dean admitted the hearing forced him to see his family's prejudice clearly. "I've spent years trying to earn their approval. It's time I approve of myself." Joel nodded, sharing how watching Dean fight had deepened his own commitment. "You've grown so much. I love the man you're becoming." Yet cracks remained. Dean's mother called the next day, apologetic but torn. "Your father's stubborn. Give him time." Dean hung up conflicted. Joel suggested family therapy, but Dean wasn't ready. At work, the promotion came through after the freeze lifted and the record cleared. Dean felt lighter, sketching designs with fresh energy. Joel's students noticed his improved mood, joking about spring fever even in winter. One weekend they escaped to a cabin up north, snowshoeing through pines. Around the fire, Dean opened up about identity, how being gay had always felt like a secret to protect. "With you, it's home." Joel kissed him softly. That's all I want for you. Back in Chicago, life normalized, but the betrayal lingered like a shadow. Dean blocked his father's number after one hostile text. Joel supported without pushing, knowing healing took time. Friends rallied, hosting a potluck where stories flowed, other gay men sharing similar family wars. Dean listened, realizing he wasn't alone. Joel watched from across the room, heart full. Yet a new tension brewed. Dean began questioning their future. What if my family never accepts us? Do we stay here, or move closer to your parents in California? Joel paused, sensing the crossroads. Wherever we go, it's together. The conversation ended unresolved, but closer. As spring approached, Dean used part of the compensation for a joint savings account, symbolizing trust rebuilt. Joel planned a small trip, just the two of them, to celebrate growth. Life moved forward, but the emotional scars shaped them, forging resilience neither expected. Spring brought renewal, yet Dean carried invisible weight. The compensation check cleared, bills paid, credit restored, but nights still held flashbacks to the courtroom. Joel noticed during quiet dinners, the way Dean's laugh didn't quite reach his eyes. Therapy helping? He asked gently one evening. Dean nodded, stirring pasta. It's unpacking layers I didn't know were there, like how I internalized shame. Joel listened without fixing, a skill he'd honed over months. Their relationship deepened through these talks. Late nights on the balcony overlooking the city lights, sharing vulnerabilities. Dean revealed childhood bullying he'd hidden, the fear of disappointing his mother. Joel shared his own journey coming out in college, the freedom it brought. You're rewriting your story now. Work flourished for both. Dean's designs won a local award. Joel's history class voted him favorite professor. Friends celebrated with a rooftop party, Marcus toasting to the couple who beat the system. Dean felt seen, surrounded by chosen family. Yet his biological family's silence stung. A letter arrived from his mother. We miss you. Your father is struggling too. Dean read it aloud to Joel, voice wavering. Do I respond? Joel squeezed his hand. Only if it serves you. They decided on a short reply, polite but firm boundaries. The response came weeks later. His brother wanted to meet in Chicago. To clear the air. Dean agreed reluctantly, Joel offering to join but respecting the request for privacy. The coffee shop meeting was awkward, brother's apology laced with conditions. Dad's old school. Maybe keep things quiet. Dean stood firm. This is who I am. Joel is my life. The brother left unconvinced, leaving Dean drained. Joel was waiting at home with takeout and open arms. You did great. Boundaries matter. That weekend they volunteered at a local LGBTQ center. Dean mentoring young designers, Joel leading history workshops on queer figures. Giving back grounded them, reminding Dean his story could help others. Joel watched with pride, seeing growth in real time. Summer arrived with heat waves and festivals. They marched in pride, hands linked, Dean's chest swelling with newfound confidence. A year ago I couldn't imagine this. Joel smiled. You've come so far, yet internal conflict simmered. Dean began questioning career paths, maybe starting his own studio with the remaining compensation. Joel supported fully, helping brainstorm. Evenings turned into planning sessions, laughter mixing with serious talks about risks. One night over wine, Dean said, This whole mess taught me I don't need their approval to succeed. Joel raised his glass. To us building our own legacy. Misunderstandings still arose. Dean's late nights working sparked jealousy in Joel, old insecurities surfacing. Are you pulling away because of family stuff? An honest conversation cleared it, strengthening trust. They attended couples counseling briefly, learning communication tools that became habits. Dean's father sent a curt email acknowledging the court loss but offering no apology. Dean deleted it, choosing peace. Joel admired the strength. As fall leaves turned, they took a road trip to California, meeting Joel's welcoming parents. Dean felt the contrast, warm hugs versus past coldness. and it healed something deep. Back home, Dean proposed a small commitment ceremony, not legal marriage yet, but symbolic. Joel agreed tearfully. Planning brought joy, friends helping with details. The bank ordeal felt distant, a catalyst for growth. Dean reflected often. The freeze had cracked him open, letting light in. Joel saw the man he loved emerge stronger, more authentic. Life wasn't perfect, but their bond was unbreakable. The commitment ceremony was simple, held in a friend's backyard under string lights. Dean stood before Joel, voice steady as he read vows about choosing each other daily, through storms and sunshine. Joel's eyes shone, promising support and honesty. Marcus officiated, tears flowing freely. Family wasn't there, but chosen family filled the space with laughter and toasts. Dean felt complete, the old shame fading. Joel whispered later that night, "Best decision we ever made. Work-life stabilized." Dean launched his freelance studio, using compensation wisely for equipment. Clients poured in, validation pouring over him. Joel published an article on queer history in education, gaining recognition. They traveled more, weekends in Michigan or Wisconsin, building memories. Yet society's prejudices lingered. A neighbor's sideways glance or a stranger's comment tested them, but they faced it united. Dean's therapy continued, unpacking how the false complaint mirrored lifelong rejection. It wasn't about money. It was control. Joel attended sessions sometimes, learning to be the ally Dean needed. One breakthrough came during a family video call with Joel's parents. Dean opened up about Indiana, receiving empathy that surprised him. "You're our son too," they said. Tears followed, healing across miles. Winter returned, bringing reflection. Dean initiated contact with his mother, coffee dates in neutral cities. Progress was slow, small talks avoiding deep wounds, but better than silence. His father remained distant, but Dean accepted it. "I can't change him. I can change me." Joel supported every step, proud of the maturity. A new challenge arose. Joel's job offered a promotion requiring relocation to New York. Excitement mixed with fear. Leaving Chicago, their home through the ordeal. They discussed pros and cons over weeks, weighing roots against opportunity. Dean's studio was portable. Joel saw growth potential. Ultimately, they chose yes, packing boxes with mixed emotions. Friends threw a farewell party, stories shared late into night. Marcus hugged them tight. "You two inspire me." The move brought fresh starts. New apartment in Brooklyn, new routines. Dean's business expanded with city clients. Joel thrived at a larger college. The distance from Indiana helped, reducing triggers. They explored museums, parks, the energy fueling creativity. One evening in Central Park, Dean turned to Joel. "The bank freeze feels like another lifetime. It forced me to grow up." Joel kissed him. "We both did." Yet old patterns tested them. Homesickness hit Dean hard one month, prompting an honest talk about visiting Indiana. They planned a short trip, Joel accompanying for support. The visit was mixed. Mother's warmth, brother's awkwardness, father's absence. Dean left with closure, not resolution. Back in New York, relief washed over. Their relationship matured, communication their strongest tool. Friends from Chicago visited, bridging worlds. Dean reflected on the journey. From frozen account to frozen fear thawed by love and justice. Joel saw the man he fell for, now even brighter. Life flowed with purpose, work, community, each other. Challenges would come, but they faced them as equals. Years later, settled in their Brooklyn life, Dean and Joel looked back with gratitude. The compensation had seeded Dean's thriving studio, now employing 2 assistants. Joel's book on queer educators hit shelves, inspiring classrooms nationwide. They married legally in a quiet courthouse ceremony, rings simple yet meaningful. Family dynamics evolved slowly. Dean's mother attended the wedding via video, father absent but sending a neutral card. It was enough. Dean mentored young LGBTQ artists, sharing his story of betrayal turning to strength. Joel advocated for inclusive education policies. Their apartment buzzed with friends, laughter, and plans for the future, perhaps adoption someday. One crisp autumn evening, walking the Brooklyn Bridge, Dean stopped. "Remember that morning the bank email came? I thought it would break us." Joel smiled, hand in his. "It forged us." They watched the city lights sparkle, hearts full. The journey had taught priceless lessons. Love demanded courage, family could be chosen, and identity was worth every fight. Dean no longer hid, he lived openly. Joel's steady presence had been the anchor. As they headed home, Dean felt peace. The false complaint, the judge's ruling, the compensation, all chapters in a larger story of awakening. Life wasn't without bumps, but their bond endured. True or false? Love between two men can survive any societal and financial storm if they choose each other?